But
if we are at the point where someone can't be out of the office for 2 or 3 days, then that's bad.
we are at that point.
That's bad.
Yeah.
I don't think reducing the number of hours to get for the CPA is going to solve our talent problem after reading emails like Noah's.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Coming to you weekly from the OnPay recording studio, this is the Cloud Accounting Podcast.
Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
And we are live, recording live at the Padgett REtreat Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Woo!
So David, we got in late last night. Where were we?
We were in Austin yesterday at Bitwave's conference called EDOS, which was Enterprise Digital Asset Summit. And you know, we've been crypto skeptics on our show. It's documented for a little while here. And what was great about that conference, it was just accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs and controllers that are solving crypto issues when it comes to the bookkeeping.
Yes.
Because ultimately, you know, Nike, for example, is producing maybe NFTs to authenticate if shoes are real or not, collectibles, things like that. Well, that falls on a controller's lap and they get to solve these problems. So it was great to be around accountants, and now we get to be around accountants and bookkeepers and tax preparers again today.
What was really amazing about that conference was, for me, that being my first crypto conference, realizing how so much of what they're dealing with is the same stuff we're dealing with small businesses. It's all data, getting data into the accounting system from some sort of other system. So, you know, we're dealing with bank feeds not working and trying to import all those transactions and reconcile them. They're dealing with that on a order of magnitude greater challenge level of getting 100 different wallet addresses and getting all those transactions in at huge volume into accounting systems. So just be glad you're not dealing with that.
Well, what was the problem you had yesterday? It was the decimals.
90 decimal points on transactions. Yeah, up to 90. It's like, what? Why not just shift it all over? But anyway, use some commas. But yeah, and what was interesting to me, David, about that was there was actually a presentation by Mackenzie Patel, who's a young crypto accountant in the Bay Area. And she actually showed the debits and the credits of these transactions. And they're really very simple. Even if you're accruing, staking income kind of thing, or deferring that, it's all really simple. It's just super high volume. So yeah, check out Bitwave if you have crypto clients, because they seem to be solving it. And check out their EDOS conference.
Yeah, and when we partner with them, we create a podcast with them called Crypto with Accountants. But then we also create another podcast with Padgett called Federal Tax Updates. How many of you listen to that show?
Oh my gosh. I was listening to it on my drive here this morning. I was listening to Roger and Annie talk about tax season debrief and everything that you all have been going through. Show of hands, for how many of you was tax season easier than last year? Please raise your hand. Like two hands up in 100 people. And for how many of you was it harder than last year? Wow. That's interesting, because I feel like I've heard that it's gotten easier. At least that's what the surveys are saying. But maybe with the type of work that Padgett's doing, maybe that's not true. And actually, maybe that's a good time to introduce our guest, David.
Yes. So we have two guests here. We have the CEO of Padgett Business Advisors, Jeff Phillips, and we have the COO of Padgett Business Services, Amanda Aguilar. Both are friends outside of the podcast, and I'm very honored to have both of you here.
Jeff, how you doing?
Thank you so much for being here. Padgett extends a warm welcome, and it's good to see you guys. Thanks for having us. This is fun.
Amanda, great to see you too.
Yes, I love seeing y'all. Anytime I can come up and give you guys a warm hug, I'm happy to do it. Miss y'all.
You two are part of the original, the OG crowd of cloud accountants. So we're honored to have you on the show.
I think Blake just called us old.
I felt very old when I heard him say that, but you're right.
But it's a young way of saying it, right? So that's what my son would say. Actually, no, I think even that might be, I'm just sus in the eyes of my son, who's 8 years old.
Sus.
Everything's sus.
Sketch.
But where were we? We were talking about why tax season was harder this year. What's going on? Jeff, let me start with you. Tell me a little bit about Padgett. Tell us about Padgett, and what are we, a lot of people don't know about it, but it's actually an enormous accounting firm.
Padgett is a network of 170 community, small business-focused accounting firms. Some of my friends when I got here had not heard of Padgett, but Padgett's been in business for over 55 years. It's based in Athens, Georgia. But what makes it unique is that these offices are independently owned. They are owned by local entrepreneurs who are building firms. And it's kind of at the center of this network is a corporate office that provides a lot of services to those offices. And what makes it, I think, really enticing for the owners is they are not going through the entrepreneurial journey alone. There's a playbook. We provide a technology stack and research and discounts on the technology, which we're constantly updating. We have a marketing team. We have a national tax support team. And it's all designed to give them an edge, but also, and because I know we're going to talk about this, such a big focus for our company is improving the work-life balance of people who own tax accounting firms. And so we're always trying to find ways to provide that value because that's such an important part of it.
So I think I heard you say 170 something offices. Is that right?
Yeah.
So when I was at a top 25 firm, we had, I think, 100 partners.
Right.
So like Padgett is a big deal. I mean, that's a lot.
That's just in the United States. We have 100 offices in Canada. So if you
Oh, wow.
The ranking services don't look at us as one firm, but we'd be in the top 75 largest firms in the United States if you looked at this. But we're really...
Well, they should. I mean, I don't know what's the criteria for that. Like all these big firms that you see, they're really just individual offices all sharing the same logo.
Right.
I mean, like, in a lot of ways, right, the way they're run, right? But I think what's interesting is like with Padgett, it's, you all are serving Main Street businesses. Right. It's not just, go mid-market and only serve these, bigger businesses. Like you all are on the front lines.
You've been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur. There's a great satisfaction that comes from knowing that we are helping people that create jobs and communities have their financial aspects of their business together. There's a lot of stress that comes with that. We like to think that we alleviate that and make their lives a lot easier, help them run their business.
So Amanda, could I ask you, when everyone raised their hand saying this year was harder than last year, why is that?
I think if you ask a group we're sitting at the end of April, any year, it's always going to feel harder. I think that what we do a bad job of is remembering when it comes to July, August, and September how bad it was. It's like having a baby. I've had 2 babies, right? And I would have a bunch more now because it was no big deal. It's no big deal.
Isn't there like a chemical in your brain that causes amnesia?
Well, it's almost the same thing. I mean, I think it's almost the same thing where by the time we get to the end of the summer, we're like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was a big deal, and we need to make changes in our practices to build efficiencies, to build some margin, to build capacity, and most importantly, to protect our mental health around our profession.
Staffing is a constant problem in the profession. Are you all experiencing the talent shortage? Yeah. I'm getting a yes from the crowd there. One of our stories that we're going to talk about today is how municipalities cannot get their books done and they are losing their bond ratings. I mean, we're talking about schools not being able to be built, police stations, fire stations not being able to be built because of the accountant shortage. So it's real. It's going to start hitting.
It's here for sure. Before we jump into the news, though, this is the Padgett REtreat, and I noticed you guys played with the word treat as it's like something good.
Capital R-E, then treat.
And then the word treat.
And we're at the JW Marriott in Scottsdale, which is pretty nice, I gotta say. You guys put on a nice conference. This is
great.
So either one of you can answer this, but like, what is this event? Who is it for? Who's here?
This event is for our firm owners to get together after busy season, which is, as we've just
3 days
discussed,
ago.
is brutal and it just ended. And we do 2 things. One, it is a time for rest and to catch up on sleep and to be in a beautiful place and be inspired and feel good and also get together and have a lot of fun. We've had an awards banquet. We've had a couple fun dinners. We played some golf. And we do a little bit of content that's usually around something that's sort of big picture because we think that now is the time to fix any bugs in the system before we forget about some of the pains of the busy filing season. So let's deal with that. And so one of the theme of our week this week was a topic near and dear probably to all accounting firm owners, which is pricing. And so we've had James Ashford, who's the founder of Go Proposal. We had Shannon Vincent, who's founder of the Renew Group, come in and help us think outside the box about the pricing in our firms, how we price, what services we sell, and how we kind of manage our relationships with our clients.
So everyone's going to raise their prices? Is that happening? Yeah.
See, it was that simple.
Well, I heard a panel before we came on here today, and y'all were talking about different ways to do it, right? Because it can be really uncomfortable. And I'm with you there, like having that conversation, actually in the meeting with the client, trying to explain to them why you got to double their price, like that's not fun. So I'm eager to hear, Amanda, what's the strategy that James taught y'all on how to raise prices? Like what's the for those listening in who didn't get to be here, what would you tell them?
Well, it starts with understanding your value, right? It's understanding your value and knowing we are not just selling transactions. We are not selling the time that it takes for us to do the thing we are delivering. It's around what is that worth to the client. And we constantly undervalue what we have, probably because we are beyond capacity and we're rushing through things. So we feel like we know we could do a better job for our clients, but we can't. We don't have time to. So it's like just sitting with it for a minute and saying, okay, here are the things I really am giving of value to these clients, and there is a monetary number, a monetary equivalent to that, and that's what I need to be asking for. That is what it is worth for me to do this, because I'm giving up a lot of other things. I'm giving up time with my family. I'm giving up opportunities to pursue other lines of my business. I have invested in my education. I have invested in my training. I've done this for a long time. So there is an equivalent exchange. And if my client, are not okay with paying that, we're okay. We can still be friends. We just aren't going to do business together. Because that's the number that it takes for me to live the practice life that I want to live. So it's really around mindset. And the truth is, and we've heard this consistently throughout the week, is most of the clients know they should be paying you more anyway. So you just have to ask for it.
So it's really believing in yourself first and then asking for it. Because if you don't believe that you're worth it, then you're not going to.
Right, because I think, we're all so busy and we have this just guilt and, shame around, well, I should be doing this. I'm over capacity. I don't have staff. So I wish I would have done a better job on this. I wish I would have had more time to review this deeper or come up with a solution for this tax liability. Or I wish I could have, I could help my client maximize cash flow because I know I'm capable of doing that. Or I wish I would have had a chance to bring my kid to practice. It's all these wishes and things. And so that's like the constant narrative in our heads. But the reality of what we deliver to our clients is very valuable. So it's like wrapped in this cloud of guilt and wishes, but that needs to be stripped away. Strip all that away and do what you are worth, capable of doing, and ask for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. Don't apologize for it.
Stop apologizing.
I love it. Well, should we get to the news, David?
Shoot to the news. Yeah.
All right, so I teased my top story. It's the accountant shortage is so real that dozens of cities have no credit score because they didn't file financial paperwork in time.
So the numbers are real. So 64 local governments, S&P removed their rating completely. And then last March.
So S&P is one of the bond rating firms, right? Rates these municipalities, said these bonds are good to buy, right? A plus kind of stuff.
And then another company, actually it might have been S&P as well. In March, they did 148 other ones. So every month there's
So we're talking like
of
200
happening.
municipalities now
Yeah.
don't have a bond rating?
Yeah.
So here's an example. The municipality of Marion had planned to finance a new $10 million firehouse with a bond deal later this year, but that project and others are on pause because the city north of Columbus, Ohio, doesn't have a credit rating. Another example, Dellwood, Missouri, a city north of St. Louis with a population of 5,000 and a full-time municipal staff of 11, lost its A rating from S&P. City Administrator Terry Wilson said the cause was a backlog of work due to staffing issues at the city's external accounting firm.
Wow.
Yeah. That's not good for your reputation in the city of Delwood with only 5,000 people, I imagine, right? Word gets around. But, I mean, this is shocking to me. It's not shocking because we know this has been coming for a long time, but now we're really starting to see the impact of the accountant shortage. And I'm hoping that this actually is what starts to drive the profession to maybe make some changes.
Yeah.
We talk on our show about reducing the education requirement to become a CPA, maybe allowing people another path instead of the 30 extra hours. I'm really curious to know, do you all support 150 hours to get your CPA, or are you okay with 120 plus experience? Let's say we swapped the extra 30 hours for a year of experience, went back to that. Who is in favor of keeping it the way it is, 150? And don't be shy, it's fine. People all the time say, I like the 150.
Sure.
Okay.
It's a high barrier to entry.
Who's in favor of swapping that 30 hours for another year of experience? It's like the whole room. It's
So
unanimous.
it's the whole room.
Yeah.
It's the whole room of accounting firm owners. Why do you think that is?
I mean, maybe you're having trouble hiring. Yeah, it's incredible. We've seen stats on the show. Something close to 20% of accountants quit. I'm rounding up during the last few years. U.S. accountants and auditors, people just got burned out, I guess.
We've been talking about this for a while, haven't we? This issue.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder how bad is it going to get before something is done.
What's interesting to me is it used to be the problem's coming, and now it's there's no accountants to actually do the bond ratings for cities, and that's just one example of this problem rearing its ugly head.
This is just they couldn't get their financial statements out the door.
Right.
Right?
They can't. Wow.
So actually, that's a business opportunity there.
Yeah.
Spin up a practice. I don't know if that's appropriate for what you all are doing, but any of our listeners. Yeah. If you're listening, there's an opportunity here. Do accounting, financial statements for municipalities, and target that to all these ones who can't get their current firm. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, what I was going to say, you guys and I have friends who have firms who hire non-traditional workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, we are looking to folks in the hospitality industry who have customer service backgrounds, I'd rather have someone that knows how to talk to people and that I can train to do bookkeeping or accounting, than vice versa. And to your point, it's such a shortened, there's such a shortage in the market. It's really hard to find people that are credentialed, but a lot of our friends are hiring sort of outside the norms of accounting degreed folks.
Blake and I were talking about this in the plane last night, and Blake said, what's going to happen is ultimately these credit rating agencies, they make money issuing the ratings and the reports. And they're going to probably start accepting non-CPA reports, and that just opens the door for dominoes are starting to fall.
So that would be like the worst case scenario, right? Is that the market doesn't supply enough auditors to audit and to do these financial statements. So what if the market says, well, we'll just get non-CPAs to do audits?
Somebody's got to do it.
So it has to happen, right? The cities have to issue bonds. Somebody's going to have to audit them. That could be the ultimate catalyst for change, maybe.
Do you think that this is it really is? I feel like we've said this over and over again, like something has to change. Do you think this is the thing?
Yeah, if it starts to attack the what do we call it? The franchise of the CPA license, which is audit. If it starts to attack that, I think the leadership might realize something bad's about to happen, right? I don't know.
This, for me, what I'm reading into this is the issue of just the middle market CPA firms. These are the ones that are having the biggest. I feel like that are bearing the brunt of the talent issue. By the way,
well, it's interesting, Jeff. Though, so Accounting Today put out their annual top 100 list. Right. Which we can argue about whether or not that's accurate. Like I think Padgett should be on there.
Me too.
To make that happen. There's a firm called Your Part-Time Controller that's on there. Mm-hmm. They've never been allowed on the list before because they don't do audit or tax. They only do financial statement preparation for nonprofits. Pretty cool. They're on the list now. 75 on the list. Yeah. But what I was getting at with that is the revenue at the top 100 firms jumped like 18% last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, how is that possible with a talent shortage so bad that David got fired from his firm, which is in that group.
Top 100, yeah.
And you know the CEO of that.
Yeah, I knew the CEO and I still got fired from the firm. Yeah.
Sorry, David.
I mean, I feel like you could have pulled some strings there, David.
No. But I understand. I was talking to the tax preparer, and she said, she did 85 hours, every week for the whole last tax season, and she just can't do it anymore. And I forgot how many hours for the whole year she worked.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I get it. Like, I understand where they're coming from. Like, you just can't work people to death.
So my theory is that this revenue went up, but it's all M&A activity. It's all these firms that are merging in to the bigger firms because they've got no one to buy the firm. There's no young staff to take over. So what do? They merge in.
They buy other firms.
Right.
That's my theory too.
They buy other firms, yeah. So you've got the top 100, the top firms are getting bigger because of this M&A, but the same problem that's hitting the small firms that you all are feeling is coming for them too. It's just 5-10 years away, right? They've just they kicked the can down the road with all this merger activity.
Yeah.
But are they going to hold on to the staff to serve the clients? I don't know.
Not at 85 hours a week.
Well,
everyone, the narrative is that we're in a recession or where our economy is struggling. But if you looked at the job data for Q4 of last year, 3.5% unemployment, which is very, very low.
Yeah.
At March, they released it again, 3.5% unemployment. Accounting and auditing is half that. It's 1.8%, unchanged.
That's like might as well be zero.
Everyone's employed who wants a job, has a job, and so I came from the job board industry and then started a staffing firm. You have to pry people loose to staff your firm. But one of the things that I think is kind of interesting, there's the same amount of supply no matter how you cut it. So where these people, how do we fill our jobs? These big firms big top 100 firms that tend to live on the coasts are calling CPAs in the middle of America in Omaha, Nebraska, who work at a local firm, a smaller mid-market firm, offer them a 25% pay bump, work in your pajamas at your kitchen table for us, and they're making them offers in about 3 days. So
wow.
It is just this cattle call process. The large firms are removing the talent from the middle firms and then working remotely on the coast, giving them a big pay bump.
I wonder if that's going to work long term, if that strategy
I don't think
will work.
NASBA's got plans. I saw in the news they're going to extend
good news,
the
everyone.
time to take the CPA exam to a whole 30 months.
I think that's great. I'm glad they did it. So what was it? It used to be 18 months.
Yep.
I only got 18 months to pass my CPA exams, though. I don't know if this is quite fair. Now all these young whippersnappers are going to be able to get 30 months to pass it.
Did you take your exam on a computer?
I did.
Then don't talk to me.
But hey, I was at the Prometric Center where we weren't allowed to bring water into the testing room. Yeah, now they get water when they take their exams, believe it or not.
But you only took one section at a time,
One
right?
section at a time, yeah, I know. Yeah.
You guys, I mean.
But anyway, we're glad that, David, I'm going to speak for you. I think we're glad that they have expanded the window.
Every little bit helps, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because a lot of times we'll hear this from the AICPA and NASBA. We've talked about this in the show. They say they survey college students. Oh, the 150 hours is not a barrier of entry. It doesn't matter. But then I saw an article from Pepperdine University newsroom, and it's an article targeting students to become accountants, right? And it's a little marketing, and it's a great article. But
Pepperdine, like near LA.
Yeah.
Yes, and the article talks about becoming a CPA, and it just talks about how you just need some experience. Nowhere in this article does it mention the 150 hours, which tells me no undergraduates know that they have to do that extra year of college if they get into accounting. Like, it's not anywhere just arguably disclosed.
You got to get them committed and then spring it on them, right?
Yeah. Tell them their senior year of college.
College, yeah.
Oh, by the way, did you sign up for our MAC? It's only going to cost you 20% more.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to move the needle, this change?
On the testing window? Mm-hmm. I think it'll help, but I think, my gut tells me if every state passed an alternative to 150 and went back to 120 with 2 years of work experience, I think we could easily increase the supply of 10 to 20%, which, that's material, but ultimately, I don't think we can solve this problem with people. And that's why our next story is about AI. ChatGPT. Okay,
Yeah, survey first.
who
yes.
here in this room has used ChatGPT themselves? All right, I think we got like half the room. That's pretty
Nice.
impressive.
Can we do a follow-up question?
go
How
ahead, do
many of you
another
use ChatGPT to actually assist you in doing work at your firm and not just play with ChatGPT?
Okay, so a
Okay.
little slightly smaller percentage, maybe like 20% there or something. So I think, ChatGPT, for writing emails, for composing, creating content is just fantastic. Amanda, Jeff, have you all tried it?
Played with it.
Yeah. I think it's chat.openai.com, right? You can sign up for free and you can play with their model version 3, which is not bad. If you pay $20 a month, you can play with the GPT-4 model, which is the one that everybody's freaking out about because it's so good. That's the one that passed the bar exam. That's the one that can pass AP Bio. Okay. They didn't put it through the CPA exam yet, as far as I know.
No, they haven't put it through the CPA exam, but they've put it through some CPA or accounting courses. And apparently students are getting about 79% of these courses, and ChatGPT v4 only got 49%. So there's a lot of articles this week. We talked about that actually last week, that study that was done, but it really hit the mainstream news media this week. And it's just like, it fails when it comes to accounting.
That was the story in accounting today, was that ChatGPT failed.
And it was picked up on all the
accounting
major
courses.
media, yeah.
But the problem is they're giving it problems that have it do math. And it's important to remember that ChatGPT is a language model. So the fact that it can even do math is incredible. It's basically the equivalent to, think of it like autocomplete on your phone, right? Where you type a few words and then it suggests the next word. That's essentially what they've built to a huge scale, right? To the point where you can give it a prompt and it can then write, based on statistics, what should come next from that. But it's not thinking, it's not doing logic, it is just auto-completing.
What are you seeing for accounting firms getting use out of this? What are the use cases?
So we saw some news this week that Canopy, a practice management solution, has integrated it into their suite, and now you can compose emails using AI. And I love this as a use case for firms, and I would say this is probably the place
Firing your clients.
Yeah.
It'll write those letters for you.
So you need to fire a client. Really uncomfortable, or actually raising a price. You need to raise your price. Very uncomfortable. You might spend hours writing that email. Okay, sign up for ChatGPT and give it a set of bullet points. Say, ChatGPT, please help me write an email to my clients. Here's the situation. You give it the bullet points, what you want it to say, and it will compose that email. And I'm a professional writer at this point in my career, having done, 5 years in marketing. It's better than I am at writing. Okay.
Wow.
And you can tell it what kind of tone to use. You can say, I want to be super professional, I want it to be more casual, and it will do that. It improves your existing writing. There's a plugin that I use, an app called Jasper, which is layered on top of OpenAI's technology. That's a Chrome plugin. You can sign up, get the Chrome plugin, you can highlight a paragraph of text, and you can say, improve my writing. And it will then improve the writing. And I do that constantly. Everything I do now, I run through that. Grammarly just released this as well. If you like Grammarly, that's a good one.
It's going to be in Outlook. It's going to be in Excel. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming in everything. So, Amanda, has Padgett budgeted any investment or money into AI and ChatGPT that you're researching for the firms?
No, but you guys know I try and keep my fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the accounting tech space. So one of my roles at Padgett is to vet technology and technology partners. So I don't know yet where that falls in our processes and how we work. But I'm paying attention to all you smart people.
Well, I just PwC has now set the table. They're going to invest $1 billion over the next 3 years in AI, ChatGPT. They're going to train all 65,000 employees to use it. Like $1 billion over the next 3 years, just leveling up their AI.
I always wonder
the
when they
table's
say,
set for your budget now.
When they say they're going to spend $1 billion, does that just mean that they're giving everyone an hour a week on their timesheet?
Billable hour.
They're not writing it.
They're not actually spending the money.
Sounds
Right?
great.
That's did y'all hear the news about EY's failed split? And they said that they spent, $600 billion on this. I'm like, how could they have spent $600 billion? Don't they do this kind of consulting internally?
Yeah.
It's all timesheet data, right? It's all just
Isn't there some guy in a closet somewhere that just has this off the top of his head?
I mean, that's their expertise, right? M&A?
When can AI help me respond to all the emails in my inbox and open them, answer them in response so I don't have to?
I think that's coming later this year.
Yeah,
So
months, weeks.
Microsoft, this is when y'all are going to start using it, because we haven't talked about the security concerns, but that's real, right? Like putting client data into ChatGPT is not a good idea right now because they use the data to train the model. So you're basically giving that data to OpenAI to ingest into their Borg-like, database of all knowledge in the world. You may not want to do that unless you put that in your engagement letter, right?
If people freak out about India and the Philippines, they're probably going to freak out about it.
Exactly. So you probably don't want to be putting like confidential client information into it yet, but Microsoft made a big deal with OpenAI, like a $10 billion investment, and they are integrating OpenAI into all the Microsoft products. So in Outlook, I'm guessing this year, I mean, they'd be crazy if they didn't roll this out as soon as possible. You're going to be able to reply to an email, or you're going to be able to click a button that says, compose reply for me. And if they do it right, it will look at all the prior correspondence with that client, with that person, and then put in all the details correctly. That's the problem right now, is that OpenAI kind of just makes up stuff if there's gaps. But if it has the data, it will go find it and use it.
Yeah, and that's like KPMG contacted Microsoft and got a custom version of ChatGPT built. They're actually calling it internally KimChat. And they rolled that out, and the first day, 20% of the firm's workforce in KPMG Australia used it. So people are starting, like, the big firms are in.
So think about all this, like, little client communication that kind of kills you by 1,000 wounds.
Right.
Just asking for something, like, hey, can you send me this, or can you give me this piece of information, or those mortgage brokers, man, they just want everything. If it could just go find that in your share file or in your whatever system you're in, right, and pull that out and attach to the email and not send it, but like queue it up for you to send every morning, that'd be pretty sweet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many hours do we spend on emails just going back and forth with clients?
And
hours and hours.
Think about what you could train it to do, the repetitive tasks, the proactive communication to your clients, with, your monthly update or whatever it is, and you could queue it up to do that.
The one I'm excited about is the tax organizer.
Yes.
I think this could be the end of the tax organizer because you got to implement it correctly, but Canopy or Carbon or any of these practice management solutions could go look at last year and say, okay, here's the things we need from last year. Let's go ask the client for these, and we're going to do it one at a time until they get them, and it could all be automated, like a chat-like interface.
Now you're getting the people in this room excited about a use case.
Now, people are like, their eyes are opening. So if anyone has a question, we would love to answer that for you. So we're going to pass that mic around. It's coming down the aisle.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. Just like for me personally, project management, pushing projects forward. I'll forget to follow up on something, and then it just will sit there for a week. But AI could really help me. Yes, sir.
So
do you mind say your name?
Chris DeLong from San Francisco. We know the big firms are putting tons of money into this, and there's a lot of implementation behind it. How long until it's mainstream for smaller firms or mid-sized firms to be using this? And what kind of implementation are we talking about?
It's really up to the practice management software, these portals, to build it. And I'm encouraged by the fact we've seen one already do it. We mentioned Canopy.
Intuit's made announcements. By the end of the year, you will have stuff in your firm using it.
Well, I don't know if you're on the stack. Might be
All right,
tough.
sorry.
Email your rep. Well, so that's the problem in tax, right? And I'm so sorry. Like,
This is going to be edited, right?
yeah. Shall I bleep it out? Bleep it out. That's the problem, is like when you are heavy in tax, you're on these solutions that are just not cloud enabled really, and they're slow because they don't have any competition. They're it's just fat and lazy.
Right.
And it pisses me off.
And you don't even do tax anymore.
I don't even do tax, but I'm angry
bad.
on your behalf.
All of the options available to small accounting firms are not cloud-based.
I think if you could pull in all the emails and you could link up to the file storage solution, right? An AI could work around those limitations. So hopefully we won't have to wait for unnamed software company to build it.
Well, Jeff,
The
you
look
have-
on Jeff's face is priceless. I wish we could.
a lot of accounting apps are started by accountants and firm owners.
That's right.
Like Padgett could solve this. You could build the next generation of this.
That's a great point. I'm getting some negative body language feedback over from the audience.
Your IT folks.
Yeah.
Well, we've already jumped into app news, really, with this Canopy stuff. Should we keep going, David?
We could talk more. I mean, this is Amanda's specialty, right? You see the apps. Jeff, you want to stay? You want to bail? You want to stay up here with us? Up to you.
Yeah.
I'll stay up, but I'll just, this is not my expertise.
Okay. Just hang out.
I'd love to hang out.
All right.
I feel cool.
So we talked about Canopy launching ChatGPT, AI. I really want to go talk to Canopy and find out just exactly how much it goes into the email history, because I feel like that's really important, right, for making it actually work. What else do we got, David?
There's all these neobanks, right? Lili is one of them. Now they're claiming they're a super app. And the reason I brought this article is because the press release, the founder goes on to say about how banking and accounting are part of the same process. Yet legacy banks historically have separated these functions, causing small business owners to spend nearly 100 hours a year on taxes and accounting. They call this feature Lili Smart. It lets small business owners manage their own bookkeeping without needing an accountant.
Hey, we've heard that before.
Yes, over and over again.
Not naming names.
A single button click generates profit and loss statements, cash flow statements, expense reports, and sends invoices. One button.
We're at the point of, well, Amanda, I think about it this way. With cloud accounting, like Xero, bank feeds, all that, we automated 80-90% of the work in bookkeeping. But we still haven't really done that in tax. We haven't gotten those kind of improvements. We've almost gotten no improvements, really, over the last 10 years in terms of the amount of time it takes. But that could be coming.
Well, I don't know. Blake. I mean, I think a lot of tax decisions are made not on this is the way, if X, then Y. I mean, you have to understand a person's complete financial picture, and that's not anything that ChatGPT accesses, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know, are we, is this client looking to retire in 5 years? Is this client, have a child that needs help? There's so many other factors that are not in the financial data, and that's where our value is understanding all the pieces and helping our clients make the best decision. So I'm not sure that it's maybe it could probably get us a lot of the way there.
Well, I'm
but I
wondering,
don't think you can do the whole thing.
could it help create the questionnaire?
Well, sure.
Right?
Yes, sure.
The short, and not just that full, list of every question we could possibly ask, and then you have to go through and figure out what questions to ask. Your staff have to do that. It could actually look at the situation, feed it the prior returns, feed it the prior source docs, and then have it ask, what might be different? What should I ask about this year? Maybe it could help with that.
Blake and I, we've been doing this podcast for half a decade now almost, and we finally took a plane flight together. And so we were chatting last night, and you brought up this use case, Blake, about how, partners at firms or tax partners that maybe have only focused on one small piece of the tax code and just memorized it. That could be replaceable, that skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, so think about the guy at EY who just does RevRec and has memorized all 600 pages of 606 or whatever it is, right? I think that an AI could take facts and circumstances from a particular case and apply the code or the standard to that case and give an answer that's quite accurate.
So instead of emailing him, hey, I have this client over here, I need some help, I need your perspective and your answer, just bypass him entirely and use ChatGPT.
Now that's great because you all aren't in that, world of I don't even know what you call that, those super technical expert people, right? You're all serving clients. So the more client facing you are, the less you are replaceable. But those people who are just sitting there applying, obscure standards, leaseback arrangements or whatever, who are the expert in that, I'm not sure. I mean, there probably aren't enough of them anyway, so they'll get a lot of help, I suppose. But I think that's where it could be really useful.
I got excited when you were talking about the organizer, because when you look at our process, just one of the biggest log jams that we have or bottlenecks is just getting the data from the client. You mentioned it earlier. So owners of accounting firms are chasing down clients with multiple emails and texts and phone calls and really just waiting for the work to get done. And I think there's an opportunity here to eliminate some of that.
Yeah, chasing the clients is tough because we've seen apps that try to do this, but then they end up annoying the client because, right, like because you set up the reminder and then they sent you something but not through the app, and so it keeps sending them the reminder for the thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, but
I texted it to you.
I sent you a picture of my W-2 on your phone.
it's a collection of 20 JPEGs via iMessage.
Right.
Yes, and you know what actually is, I really do believe that, and this is not just me, doing futurist kind of bullshit stuff. I really think that ChatGPT could take those 20 JPEGs and make the PDF for you. Like it's that smart. It could do that for sure. So hallelujah, right? I mean,
we're in on that.
Yeah. So I think the smart solutions will be these portals, or maybe it'll be like an add-on that you pay for or something. Will build like a chat interface for your clients.
I mean, will it devalue some of the apps that are out there where that is their value prop?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless they integrate it, right?
That's interesting.
It's super powerful.
But you're going to shave time, right? Like if it can shave 10 minutes on each client, because it's going to do your organizer chasing. And if you can use it, one good use case we've thought about a lot is everybody creates these wikis and these central knowledge repositories. And you spend 20 minutes like clicking through folder structures to find the one document you need. You can just ask that and it just summarizes what's on your wiki or on your internal network. And that stuff saves you time. And if you save 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, at the end of the week, you can go to your kid's basketball game.
Let me
You
ask
get to
y'all
live
this,
the dream.
though. So, you guys came into the industry, cloud accounting industry, around the same time as me, call it 10, 12 years ago. No.
I go way back. I go desktop
wow.
QuickBooks,
I know.
desktop
I know.
QuickBooks. Yeah.
So a question for you guys. When we started in the cloud accounting industry, call it the early teens, we thought integrations were going to solve all the problems, right? Like you could integrate apps into your GL, and then you just set it up and it's going to work forever and ever and ever. But the reality is that they have to be maintained. They have to be constantly tweaked. Do you think we're going to have that? Is that going to happen with ChatGPT, or is it so good it will just maintain itself?
I think it could maintain Zapier integrations. Why not? I mean, it can already do simple coding. So I think there's potential for that. I mean, just remember, we're only on version 4 of this GPT thing. And version 1 was last year, pretty much. So it's really exciting to think what's going to happen in the next few years with this technology, especially now that Google has woken up to it. They're working on it in China as well. All over the world, all the tech money is going into AI at this moment. It's been described as an iPhone moment. And remember how much smartphones change the way we work. And think about that in terms of, this is like an internet moment, honestly.
It feels different if I step back and look at some being milestones of technology and promises, like Amanda just talked about the promises of these technologies. And 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was like blockchain. We don't need accountants. Blockchain's going to solve everything. Right. And all these accountants were going to all these conferences, learning about crypto and blockchain, and it really didn't go anywhere. It was pointless waste of education, right? And then not even like 12 months ago, it was all metaverse. You're all going to be not going to retreats. You just put on the goggles and sit in your living room. All metaverse.
I bought a pair.
This feels different.
Yeah.
It really does. There's something different about this.
It's not just hype.
There's something here. And then it does, even if it's not, it's like $20 a month to pay for it.
Yeah. Well,
if you save you 10 minutes a month, it's worth the money.
And I think that for bringing it back to specifically us accountants having to work with tools that are not really cloud enabled and that don't have all these connections, these APIs, that's what's held us back. AI could bridge that gap. I know the guys at Tally4 have been working on this. They're building plugins that will get in your data from like a QuickBooks file into your tax software, even though the tax software doesn't have an integration. And they do it through using a form of AI, right? Like that plugs in the numbers like a person would. We call this RPA, right? Robotic process automation, whatever you call it. It's just manually doing the clicks. And the better that the AI gets at fuzzy logic, the better it will get at doing all those clicks. Because that's what we're doing in our brains. When an interface changes slightly and you have to click somewhere else, you recognize that change. In the past, an AI has not, and it failed and it broke. But now it's going to be able to say, oh, when I clicked, nothing happened. Okay, let me go back and try again. It can do some of that basic, it's not critical thinking, but it's almost like a problem solving kind of aspect to it. So,
It's not so black and white.
nope.
Technology goes away eventually. Microsoft's shutting down Microsoft Dynamics GP. So which
That's
is
their
great,
desktop?
Great Plains, their
Their
desktop.
desktop version, Great Plains.
Yeah.
Anyone here use a Great Plains ever?
Oh, I
days.
absolutely did about
Yeah?
2 years ago.
All right.
100%.
And they're finally pulling the plug on that desktop product. Now, if you're an existing customer, nothing's changing. You're good through, I think they said 2028, maybe longer. But they've stopped sales as of April 1st. Like they're finally shutting that down. Hopefully, Intuit will follow up with QuickBooks Desktop, and we'll see the rest of the desktop dominoes start to come down.
No, it's never coming down. It's never going, right? We're gonna have QuickBooks Desktop in 2050.
I'm with you.
Who here is still a client, that's on like 2006 QuickBooks Desktop because they don't want to upgrade? Yeah, we got a hand there. No, I don't pay any subscription fees. I got to download all the payroll tables
Do you have
manually.
one computer specifically set aside in the office just to run that?
Oh, he's firing them when he gets back. That's all right. That's a
Our
good
work
idea.
is done here then.
Well, and you can ask ChatGPT to write the email and just tell it the reason is that they won't switch off of QuickBooks Desktop 2006. There you go.
So I think we wrapped up app news. Usually on our show, we record if our listeners know, and some of you live, if you don't listen, hopefully you will listen. But we'll do listener mail. So I don't know if we have any listener mail, or do we want to open it up to the folks in person, do in-person mail?
Okay, so I'm going to do one email from a listener, and then we'll pass the mic around. So if anyone wants to, does anyone have any questions or comments? Comments are fine too. Please raise your hand. We'll come around with the mic. All right. So here's our listener mail. This is from Noah. Noah said, "Hello, I am a new listener to the podcast and just heard the episode where you went to the CPE conference where the comment was made that the average age of attendees at most conferences are older than 40-ish. I work at a public accounting firm and only our senior managers and above go to conferences. They use it for business development and connections. We were told, I'm a second-year associate, by the way, that associates, seniors, and even managers aren't really at the liberty to go to conference for CPE since we have work to do. So I guess one of the reasons, at least from the side of some younger associates, is that we just aren't allowed to go unless we take our own PTO and pay our own expenses. I personally would like to go to meet other people in the industry, but I don't think it's in the cards for a lot of us in the newer stages of careers. Love the podcast, Noah." Thank you, Noah, so much for writing in.
Sorry,
I'm curious
Noah.
to know, Jeff, Amanda, bringing staff to conferences. It is tough, right, as an owner, because who's going to run the shop when you're gone? But
If we are at the point where someone can't be out of the office for 2 or 3 days, then that's bad.
I don't think reducing the number of hours to get for the CPA is going to solve our talent problem after reading emails like Noah's.
fair enough.
Because
I mean,
let's
the poor
just
guy
be
just
better
wants to go-
employers.
He
Let's
just
be
wants to go to an accounting conference. The
Yeah.
poor guy just wants to go to an accounting
He wants to
conference.
go to QuickBooks Connect. He wants to do that.
Can we
Like,
start a GoFundMe so Noah can go to QuickBooks Connect?
Yeah.
I actually think that's a great
I'm
idea.
in for $50.
It's really not that expensive either. I mean, they really subsidize
That's a
those
great
ticket
conference.
prices. And you know what? You don't have to stay at the Aria. You stay at any of the hotels on the Strip. Like
Anywhere.
David and I share a room. It's cheap. You can.
You don't even have to.
You can make it happen.
Been the-
The new trend, by the way, among the conference elite
conference elite.
is to not even buy a ticket to the conference, just to buy a ticket to Las Vegas and
Yeah,
bump
you
into
can do
friends at bars.
That's actually my recommendation. And David and I have told our listeners, if you can't afford to come to AICPA Engage, just come to Vegas during the event and come to our party.
Yeah, that's
And
the way to
we
go.
actually are we doing it? Is it really happening?
You're gonna. I don't want to commit just yet, but yes, we want to have 1 million downloads party. We had 1 million downloads of the Cloud Accounting podcast probably last week in May, which is the week before
Congrats.
ASPA Engage, and it'd be great to have 1 million downloads party.
Yeah.
So we just gotta. But parties cost money.
All right.
It costs money.
I've got more listener mail, but I'd love to hear from our audience.
Jerry Kriesel from Centennial, Colorado. I was going back to Jeff's comment about solving the 150-hour issue. But and I get this idea from a tax speaker. He's from Evansville, or somewhere near Evansville, but I've done CPE through him. And he thinks the problem is that the accounting schools, they're set up for the benefit of the Big Four. And he thinks that's the bigger issue, that so few of these people are going to work in Big Four. If they do, they're not going to be there very long, and that they need to be taught more practical applications, how they're going to work in industry, how they're going to work as their own owner or for a smaller firm. So I like your ideas on that.
Well, first of all, couldn't agree more. I mean, I personally, I'm a career changer, and I didn't go through my accounting education all that long ago. And I was shocked at how theoretical it all was. And I was really lucky that I was working as a freelance bookkeeper at the same time, so I could take the debits and credits I was learning and the T accounts and actually put the journal entries into the accounting software.
You learned real accounting.
Yeah. And I could see the impact in I was using my Xero demo account, the one you get when you sign up. And I would make the journal entry and I'd see, oh, here's what happened on the statement of cash flows and the balance sheet. And I can't believe that schools don't teach that way. And it would be such a simple thing.
It is. He's right, Jerry. You're right. It is constructed to the benefit of the Big Four, and the professors are pushing the Big Four in that narrative, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
And I'll add, I think the Big Four are the firms that have the resources to take a baby accountant with a college degree and train them how to do actual accounting work. It's very hard for somebody like me and probably you guys to say, okay, well, I'd love to develop. I would love to have a young, interested, accounting degreed student, come in, but I don't have the capacity to sit next to them and teach them how to balance a checkbook, how to use Xero, how to use our other apps, how to think, things critically, how to communicate with clients. So it's a problem for the small to mid firms to invest, and the Big Four they have a machine for that.
Now, there's some good news. There are some professors out there, a handful that we know, who are adding in more practical learning into their curriculum. Jennifer Johnson at the University of Texas.
No, Jennifer.
There's also a couple of professors from Utah Valley University that actually came to speak with us to get input on what they should put into their practical courses that they're working on. So I think some of the universities serving, mid-sized firms, smaller firms are starting to see this gap, and hopefully they can plug it. Hopefully they're listening right now.
I do think we had listener feedback from a listener where she teaches at community colleges, and she wasn't allowed to use QuickBooks in the class, and she had to use whatever the software that was in the back of the book, and that was it. They could not teach people QuickBooks. And then we had a voicemail last week on our show, and all of you should go listen to last week's show because it's about a 5-minute long voicemail. But
go download all 350 episodes while you're at it. That'll help our
But
download.
essentially, it was a listener, and she was on a college tour with her son, and they showed the Accounting 101 lecture hall. And it's got 500 seats, and it's a shame because Accounting 101 is it's the gauntlet to scare everybody away from accounting.
Accounting, unfortunately, is often used as a filter in the business schools.
Yeah.
Right? The way that bio is used for pre-med students and stuff like that. And I just think that's, they should make economics that. Make the dismal science the dismal class.
Yeah.
Don't make accounting.
Do that.
That. Any more feedback or questions from our Padgett audience here? We are standing in between you and the golf course and the pool. I know.
We can just wax poetic for a while if you'd like.
All right. I'll wrap up then. Good? Well, thank you all so much for joining us today for our live recording here at the Padgett REtreat. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Amanda. This has been an honor and a privilege. Hope to see you all next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo! Cool.